Everybody's connected.
Everyone's still connecting. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you. All right. We had a bunch of people who signed up, so we'll wait just a couple minutes to see who else might be joining us. But in the meantime, Melissa, you want to introduce yourself? Who are you, Melissa?
I am Melissa. Big surprise there. I am a painter, illustrator, art director, and I love the idea of getting to collaborate with everybody during these classes and share some experience and get to see what all of you come up with and see what you create. So it's super fun. And Paul and I have known each other for many, many years now, and we love the chance to hang out and paint and
I mean, not that many. We're still very young.
Well, so, yes. Just graduated.
We've known each other a few years.
Right.
Well, I'm delusional. It's fine. Anything else you'd like to say? Sorry, I can't help.
No, you took the stage, Paul. You run with it.
I'm Paul. I'm the other half of Art Makes Us. And I like to interrupt Melissa. That's my favorite hobby.
Very true.
We're both painters. We also both do digital art and illustration and all kinds of stuff. So we started this business last fall to create an opportunity for people to just make art together and learn from each other. So let's go through and have the people who are here with us live anyway introduce yourselves first. And I know you all, but just because it's fun and I like to put people on the spot. Jackie, you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm relatively new to Art Makes Us. Thrilled that I found you, and I joined the beginning drawing class, and there are several of us in there. We've decided we keep renewing it, and we're going to have to change the name because we're past beginning, but it's just been wonderful. And I've had a chance to take your portrait class as well. So I'm very excited about this. Thank you.
Good. We love, you may be relatively new, but you have made your mark. We always love when Jackie pops up in our classes. You're the best.
Thank you.
Always like so positive and open and try new things. And you're great. Thank you.
You're good to see you, Jackie.
Hi, Melissa. You're bringing out the best in us. That's what you all do.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, our goal is to make a very non-judgmental art space where people can just be creative and not feel like they have to get in their own way or other people are getting in their way. And I think there's not enough of that out there. So we're trying to make it grow.
Am I allowed to still judge you though, Melissa?
No.
No.
No, right, you will anyway. I can't stop you. But...
And Nels, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Nels. I am in Avon, Connecticut, and I've done a couple of the paint and chills and things. And when the timing is right, love to dive in. And this is a great week where I need distraction. So very happy to be thinking about landscapes and all that.
Oh, good. We can definitely distract you for a few hours.
That is true, yes. It's a little escape.
And then we have a friend of mine who is kind of sitting in today, but hopefully you'll make art with us too. Benny, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Benny. I've been a student of Paul's since I was in like my freshman or sophomore year of high school, and I'm a sophomore in college now, so that's crazy. Yeah, I'm sitting in today and I'm going to be doodling on my iPad because I haven't gotten my paints yet, but
that works. That counts. And Benny's sitting in today because they are going to be teaching for us this summer. They're going to be teaching a digital art class, Procreate. They're doing awesome work in art school and back home here for the summer. So I said, let's put you to work.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I'm so excited, Benny. I need your help. I'm trying to figure out Procreate and I'm too old. So please help me.
Benny's got you covered. It'll be good. All right. Well, it's going to be a very small, intimate group today, but that is fine by me. And for everybody else that's watching at some point in the future, thank you all for signing up for our classes too. We're glad that it works out for you to do it that way too, and to be able to do the class whenever it works for you. Let me spotlight the two of us so we can get started. Let's see, I want this camera. There we go. All right. Now I emailed out the reference photo that we're using, but just to be safe, I'm going to upload it to the chat right now. Give me one moment. And with these classes, this explorations in painting class, we are each painting, Melissa and I are each painting the same subject matter. So this month we're focusing on landscapes. And you'll get to see two very, very different approaches to the same image because Melissa and I work very differently. And it's up to you to kind of pick what you want from each of us and to sort of, learn, piece together your own, it's what you make of it kind of class. And if you want to paint the same landscape or if you want to paint something totally different, that's fine too. It's just really just like a time for us to hang out and make art together. And please chat with us, ask us questions, tell us jokes, whatever you want. We're very laid back.
Mhm. And we'll take our own
Melissa is,
approach.
I'm uptight, but Melissa's
Right, right.
All right. So
And
did
Paul and I will
everybody?
take our own approaches to painting this, but feel free to kind of do what works for you and kind of take whatever advice you can from either one of us, or just do your own thing. I'll be using acrylic, Paul will be using oil. I'm working on a canvas. Looks like Paul's got a canvas there too.
Yeah.
But if you want to work on paper, if you want to work on masonite, gesso board, paper, whatever you have is fine. If you want to work in watercolor or something totally different, that's fine too. And if you need help along the way, feel free to stop us and ask us whatever you need.
Mhm. That's right. So the first thing to decide, does everybody have the reference now in one way or another, either through the chat or in your email?
Very good.
So the image, the photo that we chose for this painting, I'll just share my screen really quickly here so everyone can at least kind of see it as we're talking about it. So this is a vertically oriented image. And so the first choice you have to make is to decide what shape you want to work on. And if you're like Melissa, you can see Melissa's working on a square canvas. So that's going to require adjusting this image in order to make it fit into that format. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to paint from a reference that doesn't match the proportions of your canvas or your paper unless you make accommodations for that. So I made it easier for myself. I got a vertical canvas. I like easy.
Yes, and I like hard, so I chose to go with a different
Yeah,
size.
it works really well.
I always like to make things harder for myself.
That's my Melissa.
Yes, but while I'm looking at the reference, I have zoomed in on it and kind of cropped it to a square while I'm looking at it. So that's kind of helping me figure out where I want to place everything. The first thing I'm going to think about as I'm drawing this is where I want to put that horizon line. And I think that's probably the easiest way to start a landscape, is just thinking about where does that sky meet that, well, not land here, but it's sea. So where does the sky meet the sea? And I'm going to draw that first, and then I'm just going to build my drawing from there. Paul starts right with paint. So if you want to start with paint, that's an option too.
Paul gets very impatient.
Yeah, Paul can't stand a white canvas.
No. So I just cover the canvas, and like Melissa said, I'm using oils, and I like to have, I like the wet on wet feeling. I don't like to paint onto a dry canvas. So I just take a color. In this case, I'm using burnt sienna, and I use, let me show you, the medium that I use is liquid. And so that's what you use to thin the paint. And then I use Gamsol as the to clean my brush in between. I have that in a little jar. So I just dip my brush in a little bit of liquid, get a little bit of paint, and I'm just covering the canvas at first. Kind of
Well,
boring.
when you
but-
talk about using that color, talk about your choice of that color.
I kind of default use this color a lot because it just works well as a base for a lot of things. And it's neutral, but it's got some warmth to it. And I really just like the way other colors interact with it. So I use it. This wasn't necessarily a choice that was because of the reference. It's just what I kind of always use when I'm doing a base. However, there have been some times when I have chosen to do a base color that was, for a specific reason. It can be really fun to do a base layer that contrasts the color that you want the painting to end up being. So maybe if you are doing a painting that has a lot of cool tones in it, you could consider doing, a base coat in orange or yellow or something really warm, because it can be kind of fun to fight against that, to use opposite colors. But the real answer for this one is because it's just kind of like what I always do.
I mean, I think one nice thing about that color, Paul, is it adds like a luminous quality to anything on top of it. It does have a lot of, it's neutral, but it has a lot of chroma to it. So it kind of adds a nice warm glow to anything on top of it.
To tell them what chroma means.
So chroma is just like the amount of color in something, or the amount of pigment.
Yeah.
So the more pigment in paint, I guess the brighter the color, the more saturation you get from the color.
Yeah.
So it almost glows. Anything on top of it is going to have that kind of glowy feel to it.
I like to glow.
Well, also without glowing. You are glowing, Paul, right now.
Good. I'm trying to work quickly because I know this has to be like incredibly boring to watch this step. Why did we pay to sign up to watch this guy just paint a flat color on his canvas?
Beautiful, Paul. It's beautiful.
Thank you. It's my masterpiece.
Yes. So all I'm doing is kind of, I like to start geometrically drawing some shapes in here. So I'm just kind of making some kind of like notes for myself as to where things are going to fall. I have my horizon line, and then I've used that to kind of build the rest of the image. So the rocks are all based on where that horizon line falls. And then I kind of figured out where the top of the rocks are going to be, and that's about 2/3 up the canvas. So I just made some general marks for myself, and now I'm just starting to build the rest of the drawing around that. I like to start very angular, just drawing in the general shapes, and then I'll get into the details as I get all of that worked out.
Melissa's a planner.
I am a planner. I do not like winging it. Paul loves winging it. He loves to see what happens. I need a plan, or I get nervous.
I especially like putting Melissa in situations where she has to wing it because it's really fun to see what happens.
Oh my. No. I always ask Paul, so do we need to prepare for this class that we have on Saturday? No, we could just wing it. It'll be great.
I like to keep it fresh. Shh, don't ruin my illusion, Melissa. They think that I work for days and days planning this.
Oh, I don't think anybody thinks that.
I think if we've been with you before, Paul, we already know.
You already know.
I think they learn pretty quickly what they're getting into.
Fine.
You're not real good at hiding it. Sorry
No.
to tell you.
No, I suppose that's true.
What you see is what you get.
Yes. Well, thankfully, I'm just about done covering this canvas. This is the part that one day I hope to have an intern to do for me. We're accepting applications now if anyone's interested.
Oh my goodness.
Is that when you start mass producing, Paul?
Yes, I'm ready.
Oh my goodness, Jackie, don't give him any ideas.
That would just, I could have a whole like assembly line.
surprised it hasn't happened yet. Actually, it probably has. I just don't know about it. That's why you
Something-
keep asking me to move to California, isn't it?
Yes, you're gonna be the head of the line.
The assembly line.
The Paul Richmond factory. All right, so I've got it covered. Now, one thing, if you're working with oils and you do a base coat like this, I like to not have it be super wet because then it mixes with the next layer a lot and gets a little annoying. So I'll take a paper towel and just kind of work it in a little.
So you're kind of just staining the canvas, right?
Yeah. It ends up having just enough glide to it that when you put the next layer on, it doesn't feel like a dry surface, but it doesn't mess with it too much. Okay, now I can start. Well, meanwhile, Melissa has hers already almost completely drawn. Up.
Well, luckily we chose rocks, and rocks are fairly easy to draw. You don't have to be entirely accurate, which is great.
Yes.
Melissa, I just can't see how much are you drawing? Like I've just drawn some lines where I think the top of the rock will go here. I think the
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I have something similar for sure. It's just really kind of an outline where things are gonna fall.
Okay.
And I'll try to make that darker so everybody can see it, but yeah, it's really kind of a map for me, just a blueprint of where things are gonna go. And then when I paint, I'll add a lot more detail then. So I just have basic shapes.
One consideration when you're doing a landscape or seascape like this is the placement of that horizon line, because you always want to think about your artwork as an abstract composition too, not just, trying to make it look like what it is, but how does it fit on the page? And it's usually not ideal to put horizon line right dead center on the canvas. Usually is a little bit more pleasing if you go a little bit below or a little bit above, or a lot below and a lot above. So even though in the photo the horizon line is right kind of in the middle, I am choosing to scooch it down a little bit, and so I'll have a little bit more sky up above. Looks like Melissa did that too.
Yeah, I'm dealing with the rule of thirds here, which is just a common compositional trick where you basically divide the composition into 3 parts. So I have my water in a third at the bottom, and then I have my rocks in the middle third, and then those birds are going to kind of fill in that center space. And that just helps move your eye around the composition. It'll make a nice circular central focal point. And I think that's something that you should think about when you're choosing to paint a landscape, because I think the most important part about painting a landscape is choosing something that will be interesting and that will still have a focal point. If you still want a subject to focus on, and this one I would say the main subject is the rocks, so that's going to draw all of your attention. It's similar to when you're painting a still life or when you're painting a portrait. You want some kind of focal point, something for people to draw their interest to.
Yeah.
And I think that can be challenging, especially if you're painting outdoors, because there's so much going on. And you can focus on so many things that are interesting or detailed or kind of draw your focus. Sometimes it's difficult to pick one thing as your focal point. But I do think it helps to create an interesting composition if you pick one subject, like focus on the waterfall or focus on the hills or the mountains, something that's going to draw your attention.
Yes, that's always a challenge for me because I want to make everything the focal point. I do that with my fashion choices too, and people are like, I don't even know where to look at you.
And Paul, what color are you starting with?
I'm still using just my burnt sienna, my favorite. But you could use anything you want, really. It's looking beautiful, Melissa.
It's some rocks, kind of.
Yes, it is.
Sure is. All right, so I have my basic rock shapes. I'm just gonna make a few little visual notes for myself where some of the darker areas fall. So one thing I like to work in is different values, and I think that's something that's important to establish from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Where are some of those shadows going? And then where are the highlights going? And I think that helps add depth to anything that you're painting. So I'm going to kind of make a map for myself.
Whenever I'm working on a painting, I feel like you look at the reference through different lenses depending what stage you're at. So like initially you're just looking at how do the different parts fit on the composition and how can you arrange it on your canvas or your paper so that it, it works. And then like Melissa's doing, start thinking about the value next. How did the lights and darks break down and how can you arrange those so that they work? And I do all of that too before I really think about color, which is a whole other lens to look at. It's a lot. Being an artist is a lot of work.
It's a lot. It's a lot of thinking while you're creating, right?
Too much thinking.
Too much.
So I'm doing my own version of what Melissa said, which is just blocking in darks and lights. And I'm just still doing it with my burnt sienna.
And the rocks have definite shadow areas, and then the water does too. You can see where the waves are hitting. So I'm just kind of making some lines for myself here where those color shifts and value shifts are. I'm not worried about the birds yet. I think that's something that can be a detail added at the end, but I am going to make maybe a few indications where certain parts of the cloud or the sky fall. And again, just kind of making lines for myself where those values shift from darker to lighter.
Yeah, any little, you definitely don't want to get too caught up in little details too soon. And that's always so tempting to do because the little details are usually kind of what, draws you to the image at first, but save the dessert for last.
Paul, I don't think I've ever heard you say that in your entire life.
Hey, I don't have to practice what I preach. I can still preach.
You are a dessert first kind of guy.
Shh. You're giving away all my secrets today,
Oh,
Melissa.
sorry.
I don't appreciate
Sorry.
it.
All right, so I have my indications of rocks. I have kind of a general plan of how I'm going to put everything together. So I'm just going to start putting some paints out here, and I'm just going to stick with some of the basics. So white, black, blue, red, yellow, and then some neutrals. Trying to make it easy for myself here.
There's a concept.
Yeah, I said trying. I didn't say succeeding.
Does that mean we might expect you to finish this painting today, Melissa?
Oh my goodness, no. There's no.
Well, I don't think Melissa has finished one painting yet in these classes.
I have finished at least one. How long have we been doing this? Maybe.
It's okay. They're always beautiful.
Red, yellow, blue, and then I'm gonna do. I like this kind of off-white. This is called buff titanium.
Nice. You said you're using acrylic, right?
Yep, I'm using acrylic.
Does the paint dry up on you quickly, or do you manage to keep it going?
It does dry up pretty quickly. I think if you put a decent amount out, usually it'll stay wet for a while.
Yeah.
But you have a short window.
Do you ever like spray it with water or do anything to extend it?
I did have a little spray bottle here. I don't have it now, but yeah, that is definitely something that helps. And then I have some artists that I work with, and they like to actually put their acrylic paint on wet paper towels and work that way.
Hmm. Like put the palette on top of the paper towel or put the paint right on the towel?
She actually puts the paint on the wet paper towels, like directly on the wet paper towels. She works in
Whoa.
acrylic a lot.
Huh, I've never heard of that.
She paints very loosely, and acrylic almost uses it as if it's watercolor.
Okay. That's
And so I think it makes it easier for her.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but I used to have one of those stay wet pellets where you put the sponge underneath the palette paper.
Yeah.
And I liked those. I felt like that worked
Mhm.
for a little while.
For a while. Eventually it all kind of turned to like soup, but for
Yeah.
a while it worked.
Yeah, or if you leave it too long, it gets really smelly. If your
Oh,
acrylic is
yes, I
smelly.
forgot about that. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know why, but it does. I don't know if it gets moldy or what, but it's kind of gross after a while.
I do have a student that is using the there's a medium you can mix with the paint that it's like an
Oh, yeah.
extender. And it works, but it definitely like thins it out a lot.
Yeah, that's my other issue with acrylic is that it is fairly thin.
Yeah.
It can be a bad thing and it can be a good thing. You know, I think with acrylic you can work in layers because it dries so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you layer it, it kind of has a luminous quality to it where you can see the other colors underneath it,
Yeah.
which you can kind of use to your own advantage if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But then it can also be really frustrating because it doesn't cover.
Right.
You really want it to. All right. All my colors, I'm just gonna pull different brushes. I think I'm gonna start in the background to establish some of the colors in the sky. I'm gonna do some blocking in exercises, just because the colors are so separate. In this image, you have the brown rocks, and then you have the blue water, and then you have that kind of light pinky purple sky.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna start blocking in since the colors are so separate. The first thing I'm gonna do is just mix some colors for my sky. Since that's in the background. The rule is you're supposed to start in the background. We don't always follow the rules as artists, but
Yeah.
I think for this one, I'm gonna try it and see what happens.
It can be helpful with landscapes because if you start far back and work your way forward, it can kind of help you to think about the depth a little bit more.
Mhm.
So I'm actually lifting up a little bit of paint. That can be kind of a fun thing to do when you're doing an underpainting in oil. You just take some of the Gamsol or Turpenoid or whatever you're using as your brush cleaner and put that on. And then you can either like wipe it with another brush or with your paper towel. And it's almost like you're erasing away just to pull out little highlights. This is my way of just getting the values kind of sorted out.
I'm just gonna start with the lightest color in the sky. Get that put down first, and then I'm gonna add a few different colors as the sky goes up, and then I can always add more color and detail later. I just want to get some color and value established back there before I start painting anything else. Just have a real light yellow mix for that glow.
How's everybody doing? Making some masterpieces out there? I can tell they are.
Very focused.
I have
The masterpieces are happening.
Yep. All right. You can sort of see my palette here in the background. It's not quite as clear as Melissa's, but I always put out every color. I like to have all my options available. So I just put them all in a little, around the border of the palette. And then I use the middle area for mixing. That's my strategy. I'm going to start with the sky too.
You love painting a sky.
I do, it's fun.
While my first color is still wet, I'm gonna just paint into it with some of my other colors to get a nice blend. And since I started mixing that lightest color, it's easier for me to just add more color to it as I'm moving up further up the sky.
I feel like painting very thick today, so I'm going to do a lot of mine with the palette knife. Just to show you a very different approach than what Melissa's doing. Melissa, because she's working on acrylic, kind of has to sort of mix a color or two at a time so they don't dry. One nice thing about oils, I can mix like a bunch of colors before I start. So that's kind of what I like to do. Not saying I picked the better medium.
Always a competition, isn't it?
Not saying that.
I think the other frustrating thing about acrylic is I have ruined so many brushes during these classes because I get distracted and do something else and don't clean my brushes. And the nice thing about oil is that you don't have to clean out your brush immediately.
Yes.
You can move on to something else. Keep one brush with paint on it and put another brush with paint on it.
Yep.
With multiple colors, but acrylic, that is not an option.
There's so many advantages for those who are inclined towards laziness, like myself.
I do
I
think
think
like, for me, it's hard to paint with oil quickly because I like to let it dry and then move on to something else and then paint on top
Yeah.
of it. So I think that can be a challenge.
Yes. And oil is more expensive, and especially if you paint the way that I do with like thick globs of it, you will use a lot of paint.
Mhm.
All right, I'm gonna start on the sky. Just get some. So I like to just load it up on my palette knife and just start layering it on like I'm icing a cake.
What kind of palette knife do you use, Paula? Do you use the one like this? It's more of like a spade shape, or do you
I use lots of different kinds, but right now I'm using this one that's kind of like slanted like that.
Oh, okay.
But I also have like this weird little stubby one.
That one's cute. I like that one.
This little tiny one, it's nice for little detail.
Adorable.
I have all different kinds. I have this one if I ever want to like lay bricks.
Good for everything. Icing cakes and laying bricks.
Yeah. Multi-purpose.
Yep.
So fun and so freeing. If you've never tried a palette knife painting, you should try it at least once.
I don't know if I could handle it.
Oh, Melissa, you've got to.
Oh, Paul, I would try to paint every detail with it. I would try to use it like a brush.
Oh,
It would be wrong.
I would so love watching that though.
I would be so frustrated.
It's good to know, to figure out as an artist what works for you. And I think that's one of the things I like about this class and about a lot of our classes, is that we never try to say there's just one way to do it, anything.
Yeah.
Every artist is different.
And we really appreciate that. I want you to know
Good.
a lot.
Well, we've all been in those classes. I mean, I remember in college we had instructors who were just so convinced that their way was the only way. It's like,
Yes, that was very true.
that's not really how this works.
You
Yeah.
know, if I could, I would love to interject right here. There's this amazing book I've been reading called The End of Average.
Okay.
I really recommend it.
End of average.
Yeah.
What's the premise?
The premise is that everything we do is predicated, all education, organization is predicated on the average, and everybody tries to be better than the average. And the truth is there is no average. And so it doesn't deal with the individual, it deals with the overall. It's
Interesting.
really, really good. I really
I like
recommend it.
that.
Yeah, that's very cool, Jackie. I like
Very
that whole
cool.
idea.
I was just introduced to it and I'm blown away by it.
Huh.
I'm an organizational development consultant in my world of work, and we've been doing it all wrong. I mean,
Wow.
really have.
That's fascinating. Yeah, it makes sense too. I mean, that's certainly how
Exactly.
educational standards are set. And
All of them.
Pretty much everything we do, right? Our whole world.
Everything we do.
Yeah.
Everything. Yep. It's not about the individual at all. It's all about the average of everybody, and there is no such thing. And so we all, none of us benefit by it.
Mhm. I know, and from the art perspective, it just kind of creates this impossible standard that everybody feels like they're supposed to measure up to, that like you said, doesn't even exist.
So translate that into any classroom and every classroom.
Wow,
Fascinating.
that's cool. I like that. I'll have to read that.
Please do. I'm going to buy a bunch of copies and give it to everybody that will read it and talk to me about it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Especially in my world of work.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see. Okay.
I mean, I
Hmm.
think like Paul was saying, we were definitely in art school, we were trained that there was a certain way to do things, and a lot of instructors felt like their way was the best way. And if you
Right.
didn't do it that way, then you were wrong.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even me, like I always wanted to be a good student and do what I was supposed to be doing, but I am not good at just doing exactly what people tell me to do.
Yeah.
Nor should you be, because then
Yeah.
you're measured against each other.
Right.
Oh, yeah, Betty did it straighter. Johnny did it right.
Yep.
Look at what Melissa did. Gosh, Melissa did good. Nobody else did.
Yeah, you go against your own instincts, and then your whole life you think your own instincts are wrong.
You're
Mhm.
absolutely right. And it starts in kindergarten.
Yes.
The fallacy of our society. Fascinating.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hated art class in like elementary and middle school, which is so ridiculous because
It's so sad, Paul.
I love art so much.
Me too.
Yeah.
You know what I always hated to do?
What's that?
Draw.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I signed up for the drawing class. I now love to draw.
Well, we're glad to hear that, Jackie. for
Yes,
sure.
well, and that, you know what? That's thanks to Deb and you all.
She's
Aw.
amazing. Yeah.
Deb is spectacular.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Little plug for Deb's beginning drawing class. Starts on Wednesday if anyone's interested.
Talked about changing the name. Did she tell you yet?
No, but I'm totally down for whatever she wants to call it.
We talked about calling it the joy of drawing because we're not beginners anymore.
No, you're not. I like that. We should do that.
Well, we talked about it.
It's interesting. We think a lot about like, the best way to market our classes and stuff. And I think that probably because of what you were just talking about, we found a lot of people, especially a lot of grown-ups, because they're the ones who are signing up for things, are so intimidated to sign up for art classes sometimes. So like the more that we can use words like, beginning or, introduction or easy or something like that, it just helps people get over that fear that they might not be good enough to do it. But it doesn't mean that like the class is just for beginners.
Right.
That's how she starts every class. Breathe. Everybody's an artist, the whole,
Yeah,
every class.
it's important because boy, we've been so conditioned the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, even in art school, and
Yes.
I can both talk to this is, certain kind of art techniques were seen as better, or certain types of approaches to art were seen as better or more interesting or more conceptual.
Yeah,
Or more realistic forms of art were not seen as interesting or relevant.
Right.
And I think who cares? Just make what you want to make. You know?
why are we overthinking this so much?
Yeah, why are we judging? If you like realistic art, what's wrong with that?
Yes. And if not, great.
Yeah,
Yep.
whatever.
You do you.
Yeah.
We're making
Yeah.
art school sound terrible, but it actually was wonderful in many ways too. I'm sure Benny can speak to that, but art school is a great place for like being exposed to new things and learning all kinds of stuff. But you just have to remember that there's no one way to really do anything.
Right.
Exactly.
I wish I could like go back and go to art school now with what I know, because I was so impressionable then, and like
You did it one better, Paul.
we started our own.
We just made
Oh,
one.
we all get to benefit.
That's true. I feel like that better.
Yep.
And now I only have to worry about Melissa giving me a good grade. She's tough though. I don't know.
So far, so good, Paul.
Whew, okay, I was on edge.
As long as people keep showing up, we're good.
Yes,
You can count on it. There's a bunch of us totally committed.
I
Good.
know that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in.
It's really starting to have that like community feel that we
Oh,
wanted.
Definitely. And I think that's one thing we were missing from art school, that community feel, being around different artists and being able to be inspired by each other and learn from each other. And I'm glad that we could build something that feels like that, and also gives people that opportunity to grow in a way that you can from art school, that you can't really from other experiences.
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Mhm.
I believe I've said it in here, I think many times in our different classes, but I think every artist ultimately is self-taught, whether you go to some kind of formal training or you take classes like this, or you just learn on your own. Like you take all of that information and then you piece together your own artistic approach. So you're still the one driving the bus.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true.
There's a lot of like imposter syndrome in the art world. People who think, well, I didn't do this training or that training, so maybe I'm not like official. Like, what does that even mean?
That's in all the worlds, Paul. I have a doctoral student that's doing her dissertation on that very thing right now.
Really?
Yep, on the imposter syndrome.
So very relevant now. I feel like you hear about that a lot.
Very.
A lot of people are suffering with that.
I think it affects certain people, certain groups more than others too.
Yes, yes.
I recognize the privilege I have. I have like the confidence of a cisgender white straight, or not straight, obviously. What am I thinking? Cisgender white man gives me certain confidence that I think a lot like I'm pretty comfortable diving in and doing about anything. And then I see, like, for example, my sister is an executive chef and at an art museum, and she's just the most amazing cook, and she knows food better than anybody I know. And but she goes into these kitchens, and she's very like she's little, she's a runner, so she's very like thin and athletic, and she looks young. And it's very difficult for her to get like the respect that she deserves for her expertise and skill level. And I just think that is, if she just walked into that same space, looking like me, people would respect her more. And that's ridiculous.
I just saw a great video by a trans woman who lived the first I don't know, what, 20 years as a male, and talking about, how that all feels, and how really coming to see how they're never listened to.
Yeah.
Fascinating to listen. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Someone who's been through a transition like that and
Right.
experienced both, that would be a great perspective.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I mean, like, just look at the two of us. Melissa's always been way more humble than me. She could paint circles around me.
Hopefully. That's not true.
Let's see.
Oh, your sky's looking beautiful, Melissa.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see.
It's always fun to get that glow in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really gives it life when you get the glow at the bottom and then go darker at the top. And I think that's kind of the easiest way to get it to feel like it's glowing, is go from one value to another value,
Mm-hmm.
especially from that little bit of yellow mixed in, just gives it this really nice glow to it. Especially on the horizon line with dark images or objects in front of it.
Can't appreciate the light without having dark.
Yeah. Very true. True in life.
Very deep thought.
We're very philosophical today.
Yeah.
Usually Paul and I are just big goofballs, but today we have life advice.
Yes. Boy.
Jackie's teaching us about life. Which
I take life advice from Jackie before us.
I know. Either one of us, 100%.
I'll take that only because I'm very old.
Oh, that can't be true.
Oh, it's true.
I think it's just because you seem to know what you're doing, and I still are trying to figure it out.
That's another thing that comes with time, you guys. It's like, oh, let me just tell you. And have you seen Eddie Murphy movies?
Yeah.
Remember? Let me talk to the supervisor. I'm with Rolling Stone. Like, oh, okay. Okay.
If you're doing the palette knife technique, by the way, even if you're not doing it now, but you want to try it in the future, one thing that I like to do after I kind of get an area covered is just take the knife and drag maybe like the opposite direction through some areas so that it doesn't just look so streaky and obvious how the paint was applied, but just rub the surface a little bit, makes the colors interact with each other a little more. I just like adding a little bit of chaos in there.
So here's what I need to do.
I'm going back in with a little bit of a lighter color on the right side, just to add that lighter glow coming from the right, and use my smaller brush to kind of put some of that lighter value in there, and then I'm using my larger brush. It's a little bit wet, so I can blend that color into the darker color. I think that helps with acrylic, especially as it's starting to dry. It can be tough to blend sometimes.
Mhm. All right, I have my sky basically blocked in. I'm gonna probably go back and add a few more things to it, but I like to get color over the whole canvas before I get too particular about anything. So I'm going to mix up some rock colors now. And when you get to that point, take a minute and really like look at those rocks, because your mind is going to tell you, well, it's brown, but
Right.
like really look at them and you're going to see so many other colors in there. There's blues, there's oranges, there's purples, there's a lot. So
Yeah.
give yourself as many color choices as you can, and your painting will be so much richer.
Mhm. One of my favorite spots is there's this rock kind of in the center here, and it has the sunlight hitting it on the right side, and it looks like
Yes.
a glowing orange.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite spots in the whole image. So I definitely want to pay attention to that. Make sure I capture that.
Mhm.
That's where I think Paul's underpainting will really help him. He's got that kind of glowing burnt sienna raw umber color underneath.
Yes.
You can hope.
Let's hope. That's all part of the master plan.
By the way, one little tool that is probably the best thing I ever bought, if you want one, this little paint squeezer. You get every last drop out of your paint tube. You just turn the little crank and it tightens it. And don't waste anything that way.
Even works for toothpaste if you're someone
It
that
does.
everything to the last drop.
Yep. All right, now I have to ration myself because I just put out the rest of my white, and that's the color I always use the most of.
Mhm. Yep.
Keep it under control, Paul. It's rough.
I don't know if it's ever been under control, Paul.
No. I don't even know what that means.
All right, I got my basic sky in here, so I'm gonna move on. Let's see, I think I'm actually gonna put the water in next.
Oh, you're being a rebel.
I am, look at me.
See, now I'm following the rules.
Is there a rule here? What's the rule?
No, not really.
I'm seeing some colors in the water that are coming from the colors from the sky. So they're reflecting on the top of the water. So that's why I'm going to choose to do the water next, because I can use some of the same colors.
That's smart.
Get
I knew there would be a
consistent
reason.
feel. Of course there's a reason. You know me.
You really like to think, don't you?
I don't know if I like it. I can't stop it. It tends to take over.
You're just like Dennis, my husband. He's just always thinking. I just marvel. Like, wow, still going over there.
It's an affliction at times.
My brain's very good at knowing when it's time to just take a break. Rocks are so fun to paint. I'm excited. No. So you saw, I was showing you earlier all the different palette knives that I have. And one of the things that I like about that is that it helps me to keep my marks from all looking the same. So I'm going to grab a couple of different ones now. Let's go with these three. A little baby one.
If you look at the center of the water in the image, there's a lot of color and light reflected from the sky.
Yeah.
Definitely not fully blue in the center, so I want to make sure I'm capturing some of that. So put some of that color from the sky in here.
It's really helpful to think about the temperature of color as you are painting. It's kind of an unusual way to think about color. Like if you might not have heard or used that particular term before, but whether a color is warm or cool, you can have the same color. It could be the same blue, but depending on if it's more towards the cool side of the color palette or the color wheel or the warm side, it'll look completely different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we do have a back to basics class coming up called Based on Color, which should be.
Oh yeah, that's next month. Oh, Melissa, you and your shameless plugs.
It's just me.
Yeah.
Always got to get it in there. You can't stop me.
I know, my gosh.
Out of control.
That is a fun class though.
Mm-hmm.
We do that the second Saturday of the month, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Each month it's just a different like art fundamental that we talk about.
Which is actually, I mean, I think it's good for all of us to remember the things that we kind of started out with. I think just for people who are beginning, I think it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
It's been good for me to kind of remember some of the things.
That's what I was just gonna say. It's good for me too, because you forget things if you don't use them all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Like we did a class on perspective, and there's a lot of things that you forget about perspective because it can be so complicated. And Paul did a really nice job of taking it back to a simplified version, kind of just teaching the basics of it. And I think it's nice to remember some of that.
Yeah.
I think once we start drawing, we get so caught up in the details and the specifics of what we're doing. We forget the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm. My dream is to get Melissa to do a palette knife painting now.
Oh boy.
It makes rocks so easy though, Melissa, because you just pile it on and it looks so rocky.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I don't know.
You might
Someday,
love it.
Paul.
You might love it.
I might.
You can always go back on top with the brush too. I mean, I do that.
Yeah, that's true.
And of course, I have paint all over myself now, as per usual. All right, let's do this big fun one. I'm excited about this guy. Whether you're painting with the brush or knife or whatever you're using, it's good to think about the three-dimensional structure of what the object is that you're painting. Like, try to imagine you're sculpting it as you paint. With your brush strokes or your knife strokes, you want to move them across like you're actually constructing it three-dimensionally, and that'll give it so much volume.
Yeah, I think that's something we talk a lot about, Paul, in a lot of these classes. It's just like moving your brush with whatever you're painting. Like as I'm painting the water, I'm moving my brush in the way the waves are formed
Yeah.
in the water, and I think that helps create depth, and it helps give, I don't know, is it some kind of shape to what you're making?
Now, just so you know, Melissa, we are at the halfway point.
Are we? Okay, all
I
right.
think you're going to finish today. I have hope.
I wouldn't get too hopeful now. I mean,
Oh, come on. Give me a break.
I don't need too much pressure.
Oh, you know I love it though.
Okay.
Hopefully everybody else is doing okay. Everybody hanging in there? Doing
Yes.
good?
I don't see anyone like pulling their hair out.
No, I see him calm. I see some smiles. We're all good.
If at any point you want to show us what you're doing for help or feedback, just holler.
Mhm. We haven't chased anyone away yet, Paul, so that's good.
I know. I feel like we always like have to take a moment to tell a fun Paul Melissa story.
That is your favorite.
Are there any that we haven't told?
I don't know, Paul. You like to tell some of the same ones over and over.
Yeah, but to my credit, they get better every time I tell them.
I was gonna say they are different every time you tell them. It might be okay.
Well, all right. This kind of goes along with the whole idea of like not being afraid to do something that you might not be good at, or just having fun. Remember when I made you audition to be in a movie?
I do remember that, yes.
I don't think we've told that story before. Would you like to tell that one?
You can tell it if you want. It is one of your favorites, especially one specific part.
All right, but you have to promise to like act out that part when it.
No. That is a deal breaker.
Oh, fuck. Okay, well,
That is not happening.
Okay, then I guess they're gonna be stuck with my Melissa impression.
I would like that better, honestly.
All right, so this was back when Melissa and I had a mural painting business together. And one day after work, we saw an ad in the paper that they were having auditions for a movie at the local library, I think it was.
Yes, it was the library in Upper Arlington, if anyone
This
wants
was
to
not
see
this was not a high budget production, I do not believe.
No, I don't think so.
Wait, you said Upper Arlington,
It was
Columbus?
in Ohio.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting, yeah, because I lived there 10 years. That's right. So wait,
Okay.
when was this?
Yes, this was like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, I lived there till 2003. So
Well, you could have auditioned too then. You missed out.
yeah, definitely. It was probably around that time, maybe 2002.
Yeah. Did you ever audition for a movie when you at a library?
I can't say I did, but my late husband's grandmother lived in Upper Arlington, so that's how I know it. The Doodad Parade. And
Oh, so many connections to Ohio. Everybody has an Ohio connection. It's fascinating. So anyway, I saw this in the paper, and of course I told Melissa that, well, obviously we have to do this. Neither of us have any acting ability, but it will be hilarious. So we went over there, and first they had us fill out these like application forms where they wanted to know our previous acting experience.
Uh-huh.
I wrote down, well, I pretended to be straight for like 18 years. That's my extent of my acting experience. So then we get called in, and they wanted me to do a scene where I was supposed to be like some kind of angry mobster,
Yes, a gangster.
a gangster.
Which just seems so natural for Paul, doesn't it?
And I couldn't stop giggling. And so then I
Probably
said,
the first sign that it wasn't the right place for you.
so I said, I think that this might work better if Melissa and I could just like do a scene together, because I was having a hard time with the solo aspect of it. So then they had us do this scene together. What was the premise? You see, now Melissa, we're already into the story and I can't even remember what I'm telling.
I think you were the same character, so you were still supposed to be the gangster, I think. But
Oh,
I
okay.
was like supposed to be I was supposed to be seducing you.
Oh, right. And then at some point it comes out that I'm apparently I'm a gangster, but I'm also a doctor. And
Yeah.
You learned that I was a doctor, and this was Melissa's famous line. She after I said that I was a doctor, Melissa had to look at the camera and say, oh, here, let me find my camera. Hold on.
It's your big moment. Get ready.
I'm ready. Okay, here it is. First rule of acting, always find your camera. Melissa had to look at the camera and go, jackpot. I like hit the floor laughing. It was so ridiculous.
I sold it though, Polly. I sold it.
Yeah. That was when we got the don't call us, we'll call you.
Right.
well, there's the script for the next Art Makes Us commercial.
Jackpot.
Yeah.
Come learn to paint. Jackpot.
I could bring my character back.
I think you should. The movie has since been made. It is available, I think, on
It is.
I've never seen it. But
We found it somewhere. Didn't we find it on the internet? We were going to watch it.
it was a part of like a bundle of movies that you could order from Best Buy or somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was a horror movie. I think. It was called Jack's Habit.
It would have been if we had been in it.
Well, for many reasons, yes. Definitely.
It's called Jack's Habit. Hopefully, we're not going to get any copyright issues for saying that on this video.
We're just promoting it because I'm sure it's much better than what we just performed.
Go see this quality film that began in the Upper Arlington Library.
Yes, humble beginnings, but I'm sure it's wonderful.
Jackpot.
Paul, when you said that about acting straight for 18 years, I was going to make a joke, but I needed to explain because years ago when Facebook was new and everybody was getting on it, and of course everybody from my high school was getting on it.
Yes.
And I got a note from some guy who was a freshman when I was a senior, and this is back in the 80s. And he sent a note and said, I just wanted you to know how great it was to look at you and see how comfortable you were being out. I wasn't out in high school.
Oh. Well, something was still shining through, it sounds like.
I certainly wasn't. I mean, I wasn't holding back, I guess. And it's like, yeah, all right. Yeah, that's why no one's surprised.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I should have probably specified on my application form that even though I was, had pretended to be straight for quite a while, like it doesn't mean I was winning any acting awards for that role. Oh, I wish you guys were here so you could just see like how thick and juicy this paint is. It is so much fun.
Those rocks are fun color. They look great.
Let me see if I can hold it up close just so you can see these rocks.
I love the light hitting the one on the right. That's super.
Oh, the rocks are great.
Yeah.
So fun.
Yes.
Gotta do better on the rocks.
It's lots of little angles and mark. Even if you're just using a brush, it's just like you got to get all those planes in. It's all just planes.
Yeah, but boy, it does make a difference with that palette knife.
It kind of does the work for you. That's what I like about it. Jackpot.
I also say that to my husband sometimes.
Does he like that?
I think he thinks it's humorous. I wouldn't say that it's sexy or anything like that. I think we brought my sister with us too.
Oh yeah, we did.
She just observed the whole thing.
Yeah, she refused to participate.
Yeah, she's smart and has some dignity.
I do not know what that means.
And I knew you would not let me off easy, so there was no way I was getting out of it.
Nope.
Nope.
Was this high school? Did you grow up in Upper Arlington or college, Ohio State, or?
We went to college together, but this I know this sounds like something you would do when you were in high school, but no, we were like in our 20s.
We were adults.
That's a 20s thing. I would do. God, I'd consider it now.
Me too, totally. They were when they were filming Big Little Lies here. They filmed quite a few things in this area. Bunch of my friends went and were extras on the set for that, and I wanted to, but I had something else I had to do that day. I was so mad everybody was posting all these like selfies hanging out with Reese Witherspoon and everything. That's
Really?
me.
Yeah, I am so surprised that you were not there, Paul.
I know.
It's like something you would live for.
I know.
Love for celebrity sightings.
Then who's been the biggest celebrity sighting?
Well, my biggest was Dolly Parton.
I was going to say Dolly Parton, yes, but I guess accidentally. Who's your biggest like random?
Oh, accident. Well, it's never totally accidental. There's always some scheming.
Well, who's the guy that you ran into
Stalking.
in New York?
Some might call it stalking.
Right. The guy from like Unsolved Mysteries or something that you ran into in New York, Paul, and you just like attacked him on the street.
Yeah, well, that's not going to impress anyone.
that was the funniest, most random one though that I can think of.
That was random, yes. There we were walking in New York, and there was a theater that was letting out, and everyone was gathered by the stage door because Tom Hanks was about to come out. And I'm the only person in America who does not like Tom Hanks for some reason. He just annoys me. I don't know why. I had nothing against him. He's probably a lovely person, but I just cannot handle him. And even still, and so like my sister and my husband, we were all walking there together, and neither of them have any interest in celebrity stuff. but I was like jumping to the front of the line to wait there to see Tom Hanks, and they were like, why? You don't even like him. I'm like, but he's famous. So I got to see him.
Did you get to talk to him?
No.
No.
You know who I hung out for and got to see?
Who?
Not- But see, Hugh Jackman.
Oh,
That's a good one.
How cool is that?
that's a
That's very
great
cool.
one.
Yeah.
I never go backstage, or I mean, wait at the stage door ever. But
Yeah.
I've seen him twice in New York and San Francisco, and I did go. And boy,
Oh.
wow,
That's a good one.
he's everything everybody says.
Nice.
The
See, that's
stage-
the thing. Like, some people like just wonder, should I even try to meet this person, or am I gonna be disappointed?
Right.
He's one of those that doesn't disappoint.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. What the stagehand came out first that from San Francisco, and he said everything you've ever heard about Hugh Jackman and what kind of a person he is, he said was minimized. He said he's every bit of that and more.
Wow.
Oh,
He had really nice things to say about that guy.
that's always good to hear.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You know, very famous people, it often goes to their head.
Mhm. I know, I have that problem a lot.
I know.
It is true though. It always seems like you hear the opposite. Like, oh, I met them and they just
Right,
or, you know,
Yeah.
they weren't very nice. Like, Paula's met Dolly Parton many times and she's always been amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
I got to meet her once and she was incredible.
Yeah.
Super nice.
Who else? Let's see. Well, I did that thing for James Franco, but then that kind of fell by the wayside when he had his scandals.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Not really anything to
That
brag about.
didn't work out.
I'm kind of a celebrity destroyer, actually, because whenever I get to do something with a celebrity, it seems like very shortly afterwards their careers end. I was supposed to be on the Ellen show.
You were? You never told. I know you tried many times. You never told me.
No, it was supposed to, they filmed it and everything.
They did.
And then that episode, it was for this coloring book I had made. And they filmed it and it was they told me when it was going to air. But then Jennifer Lopez was the guest that day and she ended up talking too long. And so I got cut.
Oh, that's right. I remember watching an interview with Jennifer Lopez, and now I remember why.
Yeah, because I forced you to, because I'm like, just wait, I'm going to be on there.
You know, there's
Yeah.
a certain celebrity in that. Well, you know, I was cut by Jen. By Jen.
Yeah, exactly. At least I have that. But then it was literally like a week after that everybody started hating Ellen.
Yeah, that was too bad.
I know. I don't know how I feel about that. I think I have our friend Kristen that we went to school with does production did the production design for that show and said that she was just so wonderful to work with. So I guess it probably depends who you ask.
Yeah. Yeah, hard to know, I guess.
If you're a boss of anyone, you're probably going to have some people who do not like you.
Yeah. Especially if you're that high up.
Yeah.
I think I saw Paul Giamatti on the street in New York once, but I'm not so he glared at me, which is what really made me think it was him.
Yes, that probably was.
That'd be fun.
That's awesome.
Okay, let me see.
My friend of mine who worships Madonna ran into her on a street in New York, and she was heading to the gym, and he just said something like very dorky, I'm sure, like I've loved you forever, I worship you or something. And she just looked at him and she just said, hi, bye, and turned around and kept walking. She was not, Madonna.
Oh,
She was not impressed.
Yeah, being Madonna probably happens constantly.
Yes. I mean, and to be fair, he still loves her. So, I mean, maybe he wasn't expecting nice. I don't know.
Right, it is Madonna, I guess.
That reminds me now, being in Boston in the 90s at a stoplight, going to cross the street a Saturday night, and all of a sudden an SUV just pulled up and blocked the crosswalk. And I looked right in the window, in the passenger seat, Nancy Kerrigan is glaring at me.
Oh my gosh. Now there's a throwback. I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
I was obsessed with that whole situation.
Were you
Well, and
really?
it was like 98 or 99, so it was right after it.
Oh,
So, you know,
wow.
it's
Yeah,
like,
that
oh,
was-
this, you know.
Peak time for that drama.
Yeah, right in the middle of it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm so not into sports or anything, but I was like obsessed with the Olympics that year. Oh, my best celebrity sighting story isn't even me. It was a friend of mine who was driving out here, and this was a while back, probably 10 years ago, I think they said. Betty White lived here where I live, and so my friend was in a hurry to get somewhere, and they cut off this other driver to get, you know, to the exit or whatever they needed to do. And it turned out that the person they cut off was Betty White, and Betty was driving still then. And Betty sped up and came around them on the other side and gave them the middle finger. And she said that just made her life to be flipped off by Betty White. That was like a dream come true. I love that story.
That's great.
She was something.
I can't believe that she would drive herself around.
Oh yeah, she would go to this pharmacy. Of course, I had to switch and get all my prescriptions filled at that same pharmacy, hoping to
Right, you
run
were-
into her. Never did, but these people are gonna think I have a problem.
Well,
You don't?
the first step is admitting it. It's okay.
I can't believe I'm admitting it all on video too. This is terrible. If I'm ever in court, this is gonna come back to haunt me.
Right? Yep.
We've learned anything from Johnny Depp.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. We'll all be witnesses.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm in trouble. We were neighbors with Joan Baez in our old apartment. She lived a couple houses down from us.
Oh. Back in the day.
Mhm. She's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody would know who Joan Baez is.
Oh, yeah. You can't go back too far for me.
Benny, do you know who Joan Baez is?
I'm gonna bet no. It's like my friend Aaron, who is like unfamiliar with anything that occurred before his birth. It's like the world did not exist. I mentioned something about Bette Midler to him once, and the only thing that he knew about Bette Midler was Hocus Pocus.
Oh, nice.
Well, you know, she did do a lot of other things, but at least
Thing.
that's something, I guess.
Mhm.
Oh, and the best part was then like a few weeks later, she was on the Oscars or something, and he texted me and he said, "That lady that you like is on the Oscars right now." He typed Betty Miller. Betty Miller's on the Oscars.
Oh, that's amazing. Betty Midler.
Boy, we have really veered off of talking about painting here, haven't we? You want to give us any updates on what you're doing right now, Melissa?
I am still working on the water, so getting lost in all of the color shifts.
It's looking beautiful. It's looking so wet.
Thank you. Thank you. Just trying
Yes,
to
that would be the goal.
yes, some of those values established. You have the kind of the different areas of the water. So just kind of giving it some depth, adding some dark and some lights
Mhm.
areas.
It's working.
Thank you.
It's like you know what you're doing or something.
Well, you know, I've gotten good at faking it over the years.
Yep.
Yeah, now I'm just putting some of those dark spec in there, kind of defining some of those waves.
I'm going to step away and wash some brushes. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. We'll miss you.
Thank you.
I think I'm about ready to start on the rocks. How are your rocks coming, Polly? They look really good.
They are coming. I'm having a blast with this.
Yeah.
I need to paint more rocks.
Oh, yours looks very post-apocalyptic right now with your dried out water.
That's true. Yes. Hopefully this isn't like fortune telling. Right before the pandemic, I did this show at this gallery, and the show was called The Masks We Wear, and I painted all these people wearing masks, and I did this one painting of my friend Bryden, he was wearing like this gas mask, and he was standing in this very post-apocalyptic looking world, and there were like toxic waste barrels in the background. It was just very dark volcano like exploding. And then like a couple months later, COVID happened, and it felt like we were living my painting. And I was like, I need to just paint happy things from now on, because this is a little too real.
You're the prophetic painter, Paul.
Yeah, gosh.
That's just really scary.
I know, imagine if the world became my paintings. It would be interesting.
It would definitely be interesting. It would be colorful.
Yeah.
The thing is, Paul, aren't you the one responsible for what a friend of mine calls one of the most horrendous things he's ever seen?
Probably.
It's
Well,
not from the coloring book, but because it's too contemporary, but the drawing you did in the coloring book style of Ted Cruz at the airport.
Yes, I might have done that. I'm like quite honored to have created something that has earned that title.
Because I retweeted it, or I tweeted something, but it's like, yeah, so I contributed. Yes, I loved it. And
Oh, that's amazing. I've gotten the funniest, best comments about that series and that coloring book in particular. One of my reviews on Amazon says, my friend is in jail and I needed to find something to help him pass the time, and this turned out to be the perfect gift.
Oh my goodness.
It really brightened his stay.
he's one. If he had stayed at his public school rather than the private school he went to in high school, we very likely would have competed against him in speech and debate.
Oh, okay.
Really? That's interesting.
My best friend from high school said, "Great, that probably means I would have made out with him." Yeah.
Phew.
Thanks.
Well, no wonder that was a traumatic piece for him.
Yeah.
We have about a half hour left.
Oh, 1 hour left? Is that too- or
No,
half
no,
hour?
half hour, Melissa.
Half hour. Okay, I'm doing okay.
You're doing amazing. I am impressed.
I got a lot of color on here. It's good. Not a lot of detail yet, but we're getting there. I'm just mixing up a kind of a base color for these rocks. And then I'm gonna put this in and then add some deeper values and some highlights.
Did you say add in super values?
I don't think so, but that sounds better than what I said. So we'll go.
What's a super value? That sounds fun.
I don't know. It sounds amazing.
Okay, let's see.
I think that they're figuring out our secret, which is that I just like to teach these classes so I get to hang out with Melissa and be ridiculous for a couple hours.
It's all good. As long as we're being creative.
Yeah. It's supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it isn't, we're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Oops, oh, Jackie.
Uh-oh, what'd you do?
I dipped the end of my, the back end of my palette knife in one color, and I was adding some color above and getting the lower color where it did not belong.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
And the lower color was ochre over blue.
Well, that could be
Oh.
interesting in a very like kind of ugly green way, probably.
Oh, you got it. Okay. Saved. Oh,
Ooh,
Nice thing about paint. You can always paint over it.
right?
okay. Okay.
Okay, well, I have my rocks covered now. I'll hold them up closer so you guys can see how I did them.
Your rocks.
Let's see, here they are.
Beautiful, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Very,
nice
very
rocks.
thick, very juicy.
Yeah, that's really using the oil.
Yes, it's fun. All right, now we need some water. When you look at the water too, there's so many different colors in it.
I
can-
know. That's
I can
I
just
got
look at
all-
Melissa's painting and copy that. That makes it even easier.
What
many
is definitely
peaks of
easy
the
to get
colors.
lost.
Can you just say, because I know we probably won't get there, how would you do the birds at the end? Because I'm worried I'm just going to end up making a bunch of M's or something, you know?
Oh, you know what? I can do some birds right now if you want. That would be.
Mhm.
I'll do some birds because then I'll do the water last. You could do it with a knife possibly, but I'm going to use a brush for it. And kind of like a long pointy brush.
Okay.
And just grab dark color using like a, I don't have I don't have black. I just mix burnt umber with a dark blue. I mean, you can use black, you can use whatever. All right, so then I hold the brush kind of back towards the back end so I don't overly control it. I think that the key to making something look like it's in motion is to just get it on there quickly. So I'll just do like a little streak and then do a little body.
Okay.
A little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's not that different from the little, V that you would make when you were in kindergarten, but just I think the key too is variety. You don't want them all to be the same size or shape.
Okay.
Some of them are farther in the distance, some are closer, some are flying, different directions. So I think I'll do another one here. Do that. I'll do a few and then I'll hold it back up again.
I think the idea of not painting the same shape over and over is a good one. Well, and painting at different angles, since you look at how they're all flying in different directions.
Yep.
So making it look more natural will help if you angle them in different ways. And then if you look really closer, there's 2 or 3, couple that appear further back, and those are slightly lighter colored. So I think that will help give depth to them as well.
Yep. Yeah, some can just literally be just a dab of paint.
Mhm. Yeah, and your brain will kind of fill in the blanks and know that that's a bird.
It's good to not overly detail everything, but to make the viewer have to complete the image a little bit.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm just thinking about what I'm going to do, and I realize the size of the birds changes everything because you could make like I don't know, a pterodactyl thing. Or,
Exactly, yes. It could be very intense painting.
Yeah. But I think if you paint them a little bit too large, they're going to look like they're in the foreground, and then if you don't add a lot of detail to them, it's going to look strange.
Yeah.
So I think you could pull them forward and make them part of the focal point of the painting, but you're going to have to render birds that are a little bit more realistic than if you're painting them in the background.
Yeah. Which is not what I want. There. Few quick, easy birds. I'll show you up close. Here they are. Flap, flap.
Did you say flap flap?
Yes, it's the bird sound.
That's what birds say.
okay, great. Thank you.
Or should I say tweet, tweet?
But maybe caw caw.
Oh, okay. We just cover so much ground in this class. It's amazing. All right, I'm going to mix up some colors for the water now. Some different shades of blue. There's like a turquoisey color I see in there.
Mhm.
Darker blue in the front. Gotta have some options.
Yeah, definitely. There's a shift about halfway through the water where it becomes more turquoise.
Yep.
See, there's more yellow in the water there. This is like 20 minutes. Doing okay.
I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
It's no fair.
It is a nice relaxing scene to paint.
It is.
It's a nice place to imagine yourself escaping to.
Well, you can, Melissa, when you move out here, because this is what it looks like.
It does. It does very much look like the beach that we went to.
Yeah, Pfeiffer.
Oh, Pfeiffer Beach, yeah. You can kind of imagine the seagulls and the seals.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. It was a really beautiful beach to go to, but it was so scary getting back there. Do you remember that road that we had to track down?
I know, it was terrifying.
It was a one-lane dirt road, and if anyone else was coming, you had to basically get off the road, let them by. It was pretty scary. We really didn't know where we were going or where we were going to end up.
We weren't even sure if it was really going to take us to a beach because it was just like some very like random strange person who had told us
Yeah,
"Come down this road and then there will be a beautiful beach." And we were like,
Yeah.
"Really? Is this really
for some
happening?"
reason we listened to them.
Melissa, we are, oh, well, I should say, not say we, I should say, starting to wonder about the way that you blindly follow Paul.
Shh,
You know,
don't question it, or it might make her start to wonder.
I've often thought about this and what compels me.
It's worked for you this long.
I'm still here. I guess that's good.
I'm very good at convincing people to, I'm very persuasive.
He's very persuasive. It does not work on his husband for some reason.
Well, it did early on, but you know, you build up immunity.
I'll have a tolerance to it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Dennis has particularly strong willpower, so I think that helps.
Yeah. That's kind of what drew me to him. I think like, oh, okay, this will be a good challenge.
Melissa, are you still in Columbus right now?
I am in Cleveland, actually.
Okay.
For a little while, but I'm using my powers of persuasion.
Yeah, apparently I'm moving to California. If you
Yep.
ask Paul, within a year, he tells me.
Yeah. I've also said that now in several like newspaper interviews about our business. And I figure I just will manifest if I keep saying
Yep.
it.
I have a friend that was just there, Melissa, and she went and looked at all of the wonderful murals. She posted such wonderful
Yeah.
pictures, made me want to go.
Yeah. We do have some really nice artwork here. They are doing a good job of adding a lot of public art.
That's great. I've never been there.
You're not helping my cause right now, Jackie.
Sorry.
We do have a really wonderful art museum too, I have to say.
Yes, you do actually. I have to admit that one.
The Cleveland Art Museum is very good. It's actually much better than the Columbus Art Museum.
Yeah.
Which would think the Capitol would have a better art museum, but the Rockefellers actually lived in Cleveland and had a lot of businesses and homes here. And obviously they had a lot of money, so they had a large art collection. So
Yeah.
Cleveland ended up with a very good art museum. And we have the lake, which is nice.
We have the ocean.
You do have the ocean, which is better. Better.
The lake in Cleveland that caught on fire in the 70s.
Thank you. Thank you. I like you.
You cannot lead with that.
That's not on the marketing like tourist website for Cleveland.
They do call it the mistake on the lake at times, but you know, there are good things and bad things to all cities, right?
That is true.
Except for where Paul lives, he tells me it's all good.
Everything is wonderful. So just like what Melissa was describing with painting the water using horizontal strokes, you can do the same thing with palette knife. Give it that flow.
Melissa, I completely forgot I had this, but Golden does make these open paints that are slow drying acrylics.
Oh,
I have one in white that's at the bottom of my container that I just remembered that I had, and this would be great to play with tomorrow. But yeah, I forgot that they do make this.
that's very cool. Do you like it?
It does work because I'm very new at painting, and it does help, like Paul was saying with the oils, because you can blend just a bit more. So it does. I'm going to try it tomorrow when I finish the sky after. I just let this sit a bit, but so it does. Yeah, I like it, and it's golden, so it's a little expensive, but it is worth it, and a big tube does last a while.
Wow, that's very cool. I'll have to try that.
They do make a lot of interesting, products and things that
They do.
manipulate the paint now.
Yeah, a lot of mediums that a lot of people
Yeah.
are excited about. I don't paint with acrylic as much as I used to, or I think I would try them more often. I tend to paint in oils, but if I'm painting quicker, I definitely use acrylic just because it's a little easier, I think, to paint quicker. But yeah, if it slows it down a little bit, I think that would be great, especially for blending. That's what I love about oils. It's so easy to blend, especially if you're painting a sky or something where you want it to be very smooth.
Just for the sake of time, I'm gonna get some color laid down on the water here with my brush. And then I'll go back with the knife to add a little more texture.
I got my rocks left in here. I left a little space for some lighter areas.
More liquid. They make two different types of this liquid. This is the liquid original, but then there's also a liquid fine detail. The original is thicker and it works best if you're painting like the way I'm painting right now. And then the fine detail is thinner and would work better if you were doing more like glazing and detail work. You can mix. I mean, I've used both in the same painting before even.
Would you say they go on differently, Paul? Do you notice the difference between the two?
They dry the same, but the original, just because it's thicker and globbier, it works a lot better if you're painting, with more like an impasto thick
Okay.
strokes. The fine detail is kind of like thins it down almost like if you were painting like
Turpentine or something?
yeah. Like some artists use a mixture of turpentine and linseed oil to thin their paint, and so that I would say I would compare it to that.
Oh, okay.
Time for more paint.
Always more paint.
Always. All right, back to it.
An interesting part about these rocks is just Paul was talking about temperature earlier. So if you look at the color and you look at the temperature in the shadows, it's always a little bit more blue,
Yes.
even in the highlights of the shadows. So the right side of this rock that's more in the foreground, there's definitely some lighter areas, but there's a lot of blue, I would say, in some of those highlights. So when you see my color, I'm adding a lot of blue in there. And that will help define the shadow side from the side that's being hit with the sunlight.
Blue is not a color that you would naturally like think to use for rocks. That's why it's really good to just take the time to look closely at the reference, because a lot of times things look so different from what we think they look like.
Yeah, what we imagine. Like Paul was talking about the color shifts in the water. There are just as many color shifts in the rocks.
Yep.
So not all brown.
Just can't make anything easy, can they?
No, I mean nature just made it so complicated for us, didn't it?
Yep, it's all about us. Okay, now that I've got the water kind of covered, it'll be a little bit easier for me to go back in with the palette knife and make some more waves and stuff. Little touches of that warm light that comes through, even like farther down in the water. I want to be sure to capture that. I'm going to start there. What I think is really fun is dragging the palette knife right over top of wet paint and just letting it all smear and play together. It's so unpredictable, which would make Melissa insane.
Exactly.
But if you're willing to give up a little control, sometimes it can lead to some really cool things.
Yes, it can be a good thing. Just, if you have issues with it, I understand. I'm on your side. I get you. You.
You always want to be thinking about where's the light coming from, how is the light affecting each of the parts of the image, and that's such a important tool for creating depth. It's the way that light falls across things that really helps you to understand their position in space. I have two little kiddos coming here for class next after we finish this. One of the little guys is making a giant painting of Skittles.
Right.
That's adorable.
I know, it's so cute.
Was that his idea? Did you give him some kind of prompt?
Oh, that was all him.
That was all him. Okay.
Just-
Oh, this is Paul.
Let's see, it's two brothers that come. The older brother is 6 or 7 and the younger is, I think, 4.
All right.
They are just
So Andy Warhol, huh?
yeah, it is. It's very very pop culture.
Very part, yeah. It's like a canvas soup can.
Yep. One thing that I do, which maybe I shouldn't admit. What the heck? We're friends.
Too late now.
Yeah. With these paintings, sometimes you end up, you finish or you get close to finishing and you just have extra paint on your palette. So I just kind of like look to see where I could just pile it in. And sometimes that like leads to some of the most interesting parts of the whole painting, just throwing in random unexpected colors in places. Wish I could take credit for having all of these like ingenious ideas, but it's kind of just like, just happens.
Well, it's like the Bob Ross happy accidents, right?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, part of being an artist is just being creative and working with what you've got or what you end up with.
Yep.
Well, I think I am actually done for the moment, but I'd love to show you that
Oh, yes.
Yes, definitely.
very I mean, I need to add a lot of detail, but just
Oh, nice.
Fun, yeah.
Hey, that's looking great.
Yeah.
You'll have to update us when you finish it. Send me.
I will.
email me a
I
picture.
will post it on Insta and tag you, so
Okay.
you can see the final
Oh,
thing. I've learned that what I like is acrylics, but yeah, I will leave this, and then tomorrow I'll come in and I'm gonna do the palette knife with the rocks.
it's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it'll work for that. So,
Yeah,
Yep.
looks great. Nice job.
but it's almost 6 here, and I'm starving. So
Okay. I
Thank you.
suppose you're allowed to go eat.
I don't want you. I don't want you to think I finally hit my limit or you offended me with something. But thanks a lot, and I'm sure I'll see you again.
Yeah, good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.
Great to see you.
So I think I'm through for now, Paul, and I'm okay. I tried both brush and palette knife, but I'm a little concerned about the heaviness. Wait a minute, where is
There
it?
you are. Ooh, Jackie, that's
I think
beautiful.
it's great, yeah.
Oh, I love that. So now you were saying the heaviness. Tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, they feel, I mean, obviously, I got a little carried away with the one side, so I'm not happy with the heaviness. It feels very heavy.
Okay. Well, one thing you can always do once this layer dries
Yes,
is to go on top of it with a brush and do a
Yes.
little glazing. I really enjoy glazing on top of heavy texture. And
Right.
glazing is just when you thin down the paint so that it's almost like the consistency of watercolor. So you
Right.
can like take some of the sky tones and glaze into areas of the rocks, and it would
oh,
push them way back into the distance. I think. you'll
so,
like that.
so when I do that, I will take like some of the color from the sky tone and just mix it with water. This
Yeah.
is acrylic.
Yeah, so just add water and very, thin, lightly go over top of any area where you feel like the rock is just too prominent, and it just has a nice way of kind of pushing it back into the distance a little bit.
thank
I think
you.
it'll solve that for you.
Oh, thank you.
But great job, and I love the texture and the marks in those rocks. I mean, they are in there.
Well, and thanks to you, because like I said, using the paint in a different way and using the palette knife. I don't do too much palette knife, so it was great using the palette knife.
Oh yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it so much. It really frees me up.
Yeah, it looks great, Jackie. It has a real mood to it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Just-
very cool.
It was
Really?
lovely getting to hang out with you again too.
It sure was. Thank you. I'll sure be back.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Benny. Glad you could be here too. And here, I'm going to stop. There's no real point in us all being spotlighted.
Can we look at both of your paintings up close?
Sure. Oh yeah, we can do that.
That would be just helpful, just to see what you.
One second here. All right. Let me just spotlight Melissa's by itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I just kind of got the basics in there. Just started on the rocks, but
Yeah.
It's looking great, Melissa.
Getting there.
Yeah, great.
All right, and here I'll show you mine. Let's see, mine's very wet, so it's a little tricky to handle. Hold on a sec. So
Oh, my.
just-
Yes, thank you.
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
that's beautiful, Paul. Love the glow you're getting from the sky.
yeah, beautiful. So if we ever get a chance to see your, I mean, you're probably pretty close to finished there, Paul, but if we could see your finished products, that would be,
Yeah, I will. I don't have too much more to go with it, but I will
yeah.
keep painting, and I'll be sure to post the finished piece so you can see. You send me yours too.
Thank you. Will do. Thank you.
Benny, what did you draw?
I was working on the.
Oh, that's awesome.
What? Are we
Fun.
seeing it?
Oh, your sound's cutting out for some reason. We can't hear
Right.
you. Okay.
Did you see it, Jackie? You might have to switch to gallery view.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it.
Here, I'll spotlight. Whitney.
Oh, I don't know what's.
Never again.
Oh, I think we hear you now. Say
Yeah, now we
something.
hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. All right, show us again. Jackie didn't get to see.
There you go.
Oh, I
nice.
love it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's a little teaser of what you can learn from Benny when they teach their Procreate class.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, nice job.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. And then we'll just connect and touch base and figure out when to get your class scheduled.
Sounds great.
I put everyone to work. Jackie, we need to have you teach something next.
I'm not ready
Yeah,
to
watch out.
call. I'm still learning.
We all are. Shh, don't tell anyone though.
I know. Thank
All
you
right.
so much. This was great.
Good. It was a blast hanging out with you all. And thanks to everybody watching in the future too. Be sure to sign up for some more Art Makes Us classes and hang out with us
Thank
again.
you.
Yep.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.